Okay, well now we're going to move into one-hot encoding. And so what one-hot encoding is where we convert these categorical variables, like are you a single parent, are you married, are you male or female? We're going to convert these into ones and zeros. And so that's not really all that difficult. It's just a little bit time consuming. So what we'll do is we'll start off with the easy stuff, like are you a single parent? Okay, now that, if we look at that, let's just table, open paren, data frame, $, and what is it? Is it parent one? Yeah, parent one, all caps. Parent, P-A-R-E-N-T 1. You can see that's yes and no. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll set a variable and it will equal, if they are a single parent, we will set it to 1, otherwise it's going to be a 0 for no. And the code for that is pretty simple. It's pretty much the same thing we've been doing with, that flag variable, that M guy here. It's going to be the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, a convention that I like to say is when I create a one-hot encoding, I like to call it a flag variable, F-L-A-G. So I'm going to call this flag single parent. And it's going to be true if it's set to yes. Otherwise, it's going to be a 0. So let's do that real fast. And then what I like to do is test it. I want to see if I did it correctly. So if I add up all of the number 1 values, it should come up to 1,343. Let's find out. So we're going to sum this guy. And let's find out. 1,343. So in fact, let's just take a real quick look. Let's say head data frame. And you can see we've got now this new flag variable. And it's going to have a 1 or a 0. It's a 1 over here. Why? Because this guy, person number 5, is a single parent. So that's set to 1. So that's how you do this. So let's just get rid of this single parent. And then when we're done, we're going to throw the variable away. So let's do that. And so now, you can see we've got the single parent variable here, but it's not up here anymore. So let's do the same thing with marital status. Are you married or not? So if we do that, well, actually, let's do license revoked. That's where I had it next. So licensed revoked, which one is that? That is right here. This is, did you lose your driver's license because you were speeding too much, or you were driving so badly they took your license away for a while? So we're going to get rid of, we're going to do a license revoked. So what do we do? Well, let's see what the variables are. It should just be yes and no, but let's find out. Yep, it's a yes and it's a no. Okay. So we're going to create flag revoked. And then we're going to add them all up, and then we're going to get rid of the original guy. And if I do head df, I don't have the license revoked anymore, but I got this guy over here. And we could do this for a few more, like we could do married. Are you married or not? Let's do that. Oops. So we've got this guy here, but we don't have a married variable anymore. Now, one of the tricky things is, I just been cutting and pasting these. So I would cut like license and paste it here and then change license revoked to married, and I've just changed the variables. The one thing is you got to be a little bit careful because I had this one variable, do they drive a red car? The reason why that's in there is there was a conventional wisdom long ago that if you drove a red car, you were more dangerous. I don't know if that's true, but this person who did this data set thought it was, and they collected the data. But anyways, this has got the letter, the word yes, and it's got a capital letter Y. But this one had a lowercase y, so it's always smart to do a table command and see what the variables are. See, look, this is lowercase yes. So we have to make that change. We have to make sure we're testing the right variable. So let's do that. And this should come up to 2,976. There you go. And then we got to get rid of the red car. Now if I do head data frame, it is right there, but it's not anywhere else. So let's keep moving on. Okay, now let's do sex here. Okay, sex can be female or male. So we're going to have a capital M for male, F for female. And the reason why they do this is because it has been shown statistically that females tend to drive safer than men. So they will give women a better driving rate than men. So we're going to say flag if it's male, and we're just going to set it to, if it's equal to that, then we'll set it to 1, otherwise it's a 0. And there we go. And you can see now we have 4,757. There you go. Head DF, let's see. And yep, that's gone, but it's over here now. So 1 and a 0. We're getting close to being finished. Now, urbanicity. Do you live in the city or the country? Because what happens is people who live in the country don't crash their car as much because there's not as many cars on the road. So you can see highly rural, this means you live out in the country. And this is urban. So let's see, let's test for that. Okay, is there anything else we need to do? Car use, let's see what that is. Car use can be commercial or private, like do you deliver pizza with your car? Okay, let's do that. So if it's commercial, and then there you have it. We have a new variable here, but the commercial one is gone. So let's see. Now let's do job. Okay, so let's do table for the job. And we have missing, but we have blue collar, clerical, etc. We've got all of these. Now we could create a variable for this, or we can maybe guess at their job, or we can create a new category like unknown, but we're just going to leave it as is, and we're just going to create a 1 or a 0 for blue collar, clerical, doctor, homemaker, etc. So we know what these are, and then I'm just going to create a flag that says your job is blue collar, a flag if you're a clerical person, like an office administrator, a doctor, a homemaker, a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. So let's do that. Now we could also, we don't have to just have one. Let's just go right to this for now. So if I do head DF, you can see I've got all of the different jobs right here. And like this guy here is a manager. So this is set to 1, but all the other ones are set to 0. It's one hot encoding. This thing is, it's 1 for only the value that you are. This guy here is a clerical person. So the clerical is set to 1 and all the other ones are set to 0. Because that person is clerical. This person is a student. So the student is set to 1 and all the other ones are set to 0. But the cool thing about one hot encoding is I don't have to just have one thing in the category. So I could say, I could come up with a new category, maybe salaried people. In other words, do you just get a salary? And I'm going to say that that will be set to true if you are a doctor or a lawyer. See, remember I can say if the job is in, where it's %, in, %, is in the doctor, the lawyer, a manager, or a professional. So this is a person who has a salary. This is probably a person that doesn't drive around very much. Maybe they're safer. So maybe I'll create this one as well. Now, what we'll do is we'll do table, data frame, job, whoops. And then we'll add up all of the blue collars, all of the clerical, all the doctors, etc. We're going to do this just to see if the numbers add up. So, sum of the blue collars should be 2,288. Yep, look at that. Clerical, correct. So these things you should always check them to make sure that the numbers are correct. You might have a spelling error, and if you have a spelling error, this will be 0. So that's why you do that. So we've now done that. Let's get rid of the job. We don't need that variable anymore. And now we could do the same thing with the car type. Is it a minivan? Let's just see the car type real fast. Could be a minivan, a panel truck, a pickup, a sports car, an SUV, or a van. So we're going to do just the same as we've done before. Is it a minivan? Is it a panel truck? Then we're going to add them all up. So you can see minivan 2694, 2694, 853 for the panel truck. You get the gist. Okay. Now, let's get rid of the car variable. Now, here's the last one. Now, this one is, if you're falling asleep, wake up, because this one's going to be a little interesting. Let's look at education. Oops. Table, data frame, $, education. Okay. 934 people have a PhD, 2,000 people have a master's, 2,800 have a bachelor's, high school, and they didn't graduate from high school. So what you have here is if you graduated with a PhD, it means you also got a master's degree, and you also got a bachelor's degree, and you also went to high school. If you got a master's degree, it means you got a master's degree and a bachelor's, and you went to high school. If you have a bachelor's in high school, then you are a bachelor, you went here, and you have a high school diploma. So you can see that it kind of adds up. So what I do in a situation like this is why you want to put a little thought into this, is I want to say this is going to be a list here of everybody who went to high school. So you have a high school diploma, flag education high school, if you've got a PhD, or you've got a master's degree, or you got a bachelor's, or you went to high school. If you have no high school, then that should be 0. Then you don't get that. Okay, so everybody who went to high school is on this list. Now, do you have a bachelor's degree? Well, let's do that one. Here we have a PhD. If I have a PhD, I sure have a college degree. And I also have a master's degree. If I got a PhD, I had to get a master's degree. And if I got a bachelor's, if I got a bachelor's degree, then I got the bachelor's degree. Then we could say master's degree here. What's that? Well, that's for people who have a PhD or a master's degree. They got a master's degree. And then, of course, the last, but certainly not least, is the PhD. Well, then you've got a PhD. There you go. And then we might want to add these up just to make sure. And you probably would, you would probably add these up by hand just to make sure that these add up, but they do in this case. Then we get rid of the education variable. So at this point, we should have no more missing values, and we should have no more categorical variables. So let's just take a quick look. And if you look, everything is a number, and there's nothing missing. So at this point, we are ready to begin doing some analysis. But this process took a very long time, and this is what happens when you do analytics. When you build predictive models, about 90% of the time you spend building your model is going to be doing this, just fixing the data. You can't just throw data into a model. You have to do this part first. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to now want to write this. We have this data frame that we've created. We're going to write this data frame to out file, and we don't want to keep any of the row names. And what's out file? Well, remember in a few videos ago, the out file is the path, and out name is this guy here, and it's insurance that has been scrubbed. We fixed it. So let's do that real fast. Uh-oh. Out file not found. Did we not run that? Let's make sure that we... Now let's do it. There it is. We just wrote it. Now, if we go out to our data set, we now have this insurance and it has been scrubbed. And if we open this up, we don't have any categorical variables. We don't have anything missing. All we have is just raw numbers, and we're going to be able to throw this into all sorts of machine learning and statistical algorithms, and we're going to be able to figure out who's going to crash their car and what's it going to cost us.